Welcome to Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories. I'm your host, Allison Preisinger-Heggins. Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories is a podcast exploring society, culture, and current events through conversation. We aspire to create an open, respectful, and equitable space where guests may feel free to share their truth and lived experiences. Our core values are rooted in community, connection, and personal development. Stories help us learn, relate, and grow. We are here to listen, to take notice. Thank you for being with us. I would like to acknowledge the land on which this episode was created. I would like to show gratitude to the traditional ancestral land of the Coast Salish people, including the Duwamish people past and present. Land acknowledgement statements are an important part of honoring those whose land we now live and work on. We begin each episode this way to help spark ideas and keep these conversations in the front of our minds so that we may continue to be open to doing better. I encourage listeners to research the land on which you live and are listening right now. Recognizing this is just the beginning. Some additional next steps to consider would be to seek out the stories of Native people from our shared history and today. Spend time asking yourself difficult questions and challenging norms that may be linked to colonialism. Engage in your community around topics like land tax, curriculum, hiring practices, decision-making, organizing, and reparations. Seek out media created by Native people. The more you explore, challenge, and learn, the more questions may arise, but this is how we grow and connect. Thank you for joining us for Take Notice, Amplifying Black Stories. My guest for this episode is Iyabo Mesa Serikali. She and I spent a lovely evening in February discussing her experience growing up with a large family in Kentucky, her interest in pursuing music journalism, photography, and a move to Georgia on her horizon. We end the conversation discussing the importance of names. Iyabo Mesa Serikali is a music journalist, photographer, model, and content creator who has her hand in many forms of visual media. The 25-year-old creator lives in downtown Louisville, Kentucky, and enjoys working alongside local talents and creatives to blend art, music, and multimedia. You can find her online at mesapisa.com, that's mesapisa.com, or on Instagram or Facebook at mesapisa. So that's MESAPISA. Thank you for supporting our Take Notice guests, and thank you for being with us. Please enjoy my conversation with Iyabo Mesa Serikali. Well, I'm happy to connect with you, and we were going back and forth a little bit, so I'm glad we finally found a day, and with all the crazy weather out in Kentucky, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So you're in Louisville, Kentucky. Did you grow up in Louisville, or did you move there?
Yes, I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I left for college, so I lived in like Highland Heights, Cincinnati area, like Newport, Kentucky area, and I was there for like college. So for 4 years, but then I moved back in 2018, and so yeah, I've been back in Louisville. I'm trying to move, so it just pains me to say that I still live here sometimes.
Oh, you're trying to move out again?
Definitely. Yeah. No, I'm trying to move, indefinitely.
What areas are you looking at?
Southern United States, definitely. Georgia is a number one place for right now. Mm-hmm. Definitely looking at Atlanta specifically. Or just like surrounding Atlanta. I want to say Atlanta just because it's the biggest right there, but like Alpharetta, Decatur area, that kind of area. But yeah.
Well, that's exciting to be able to look into some of that. Yeah. Who were you surrounded by growing up in Louisville?
I was surrounded by a lot of my family. My family was so large that I didn't really need to be, I guess, surrounded by anything other than them.
Big family.
So yeah, it's very large, and then we knew other large families, so it was like, yeah, it was very much small community based, outside of like going to school. So that's kind of how I grew up. It was just like me, and like all of my brothers and sisters, and then cousins on my mom's side. And that was pretty much the majority of people that I hung out with when I was, or like that I was surrounded with when I was younger.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 8 siblings.
Oh,
9,
nice.
Yeah, so 9 including myself. I have
9 altogether. Are you in the middle, or are you?
I
where
am
are you
smack dead in the middle.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, in my household and in like the majority of all of us. So like most of us are like kind of around the same age. We're all in our 20s right now. The most of us, there are like two that are really high in age, really young, or a lot older and a lot
Sure.
younger,
Yeah.
really high in age.
I gotcha.
But no, yeah. But yeah, for the majority of us are in our 20s. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of us.
It seems like being in the middle would be a good spot to be because you've got folks that you can look up to and then
It's a
folks that
lot of
you've got
pressure in the
going. Is
middle.
it? That's true. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's true. I guess you're not being babied and you've got everybody looking for you to be doing the thing, I guess, too, huh? Or
Right,
how have you
exactly.
is that kind of how you felt the pressure or how would you describe it?
I feel like the middle child has to be the oldest and the youngest.
Mm.
That's just how I've always felt. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just like you have to be the oldest and the youngest. So like
Mm.
you have younger siblings, and then you could also be the oldest, daughter or the oldest son, or you know what I mean. So it's just like, so you carry a different type of responsibility as well as that. So it's just like
Yeah.
you're definitely somebody's, younger sibling, but you do have to carry a lot of responsibility. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't just have like, you have to do both. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's a two-way street
Yeah, that makes sense.
of like
Yeah.
pros and cons. And like, there's
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of pros because they're already taken by the people who hold those places. so,
I got that makes sense. Yeah, that's true.
so for me, ours stemmed between three houses, but we all were together pretty often or often enough. And even if not, like the ones in my house, I was still the middle child and I had a brother and a sister.
Okay.
And then my other siblings, they had different moms.
Okay.
But like we're all very close and like at one point did kind of grow up together. Timelines, we could get into timelines, but since it's so big, it's like it would just because there's nine of us,
Mm-hmm.
literally.
Yeah. A lot
So,
to
but we
cover.
all, yeah, but of the siblings, like we're all fairly close and all have like our different relationships and timelines of when we saw each other more
Mm-hmm.
than the other. Um,
Yeah.
just how life goes. But we did spend a lot of time together. Like I said, like if it wasn't like school, we were like, I didn't have sleepovers at like kids' houses, if that tells you anything. Like I didn't go to like some friends at school sleepover. Like that didn't happen. Like I went over to my sister's house and would
Oh,
sleep over
okay.
for the weekend and
I
like stay
gotcha.
there. Or if it was summer, like I would stay the summer over there.
Mm-hmm.
And like even though like we didn't live that far, like my mom's like two streets up type, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I was there and you're a kid, so it's like you think you're in a whole nother like world when you're really not that far away.
Right.
I think that was just how it was for me. I feel like different parts of the city just felt like completely different worlds. And like now that I'm here as an adult, because I spent a lot of my childhood here, but like my adulthood was more in Cincinnati. But now that it's been like in Louisville since I've been back, I've been like in places and been like, I haven't been here since I was like 15.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like 25.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, oh yeah.
It feels a
But
lot
yeah,
different, doesn't it? Yeah.
it definitely does.
Yeah. Yeah. Things seem so much bigger when you're a kid and then or like spread out and like whole different worlds like you were saying and then you get
hmm
older you're like wait a second.
And yeah,
This is
it seems a lot more closer than you realize.
uh-huh.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. What did your parents do when you were growing up?
So my mom worked in the Family Resource Center. And she was the court district coordinator. So she worked in the school systems
Okay.
as like if they had a family resource center, which most like elementary school and middle schools do. If they have that program, then she was like the coordinator throughout the state. It's
Yeah.
hard to, yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
the family cabinet or something. Yeah, she used to have
Okay.
the thing why the reason why I have to like think about it is because she had this work voicemail, and you know how you used to
Oh.
have to call like your mom's like work to get to them sometimes when we
Uh-huh.
were like younger and like cell phones like kind of were like
not
on or
quite.
off, kind of like you could call her work phone or you could call their cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I used to have to call that number and she would have that type of voicemail. So I like called her so much on that phone that I learned it. So that's literally what I go back to when I'm like, where does she work? But yeah, she's been working there for as long as I can remember. And then on the side, like they're also small business owners. So they do Tai Chi. So we have like a Tai Chi studio.
Oh, wow.
It's more her business, but it's more so my dad's independent business. My mom just handles a lot of things that happen in it.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad is a martial arts instructor, wellness teacher, all of those types of things. He kind of does that. He's a motivational speaker. He's always been like I guess a jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to like, I guess, socializing or like being or a teacher in that aspect. I could say he's been like a freelance instructor. When I was young, like young, he used to work in solid waste, but for the majority of my life, that's been his like main thing, and everything else has kind of been like the side. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He always put his like passion first, and then like whatever he has to do to get whatever he needs to do. But this is what is on the thing. But no, we have a Tai Chi studio here in the city, and they do classes, and it's a dance studio too. So like they do other types of martial arts and things in there.
Wow.
Yeah. I grew up in Tai Chi class.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's crazy when I think about it because I really did. It's crazy,
mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. And they still have it, right?
My mom is not. I don't know. I'm an adult now. I don't even know. I know that now they have teachers that teach the classes there. So I don't know. They cannot attend. You know what I mean? Because like they have other instructors that are teaching classes that keep the facility going.
Okay.
But whether or not they are in the classes themselves actively right now, no, I don't know. I think my dad goes to class because, like I said, it's more of his business. But for the most part, my mom doesn't go to class unless she does it on her own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really cool. It's a unique experience, I imagine, growing up with the Tai Chi facility to just be hanging out in.
Well,
I bet
we've had it since hadn't had it my entire life. We used to have classes at the health department. Like I said, he was a freelance teacher, so he had classes literally like in community centers and libraries. Like we would do demonstrations. Like here we have like the mayor's hike, bike, and yoga on the 3-day weekends that people that we get.
Those big ones.
I'm like, right. I'm like on those things. So we have the hike and bike on that Monday, and like that they'll do like Tai Chi there, and things like that. So it's. Sometimes they'll have it at the YMCA. It was like contract work a lot of the times too. So it was like, a 6-month session kind of thing. So different places. But we did get a studio, and like maybe like when I was in high school, maybe like 8th grade to freshman year, we got like an actual physical like building where we do most of our things there and have most of our classes. I grew up in karate. We did Shotokan karate, and that's where I grew up. But like I also grew up in Tai Chi class because I had to go where my parents went, and so when we weren't in karate, we were sitting down trying to be good.
So did you take the classes and go through the different levels too, or were you more just there because your parents were there and that kind of thing?
It was both.
Yeah.
It was definitely both. I think as time, because we grew up in the class, so you grow up and you're too young, or like, your attention span kind of fades in and out, and it's Tai Chi. So like my younger sister, she was more into Tai Chi, and my older brother was really into Tai Chi. I was in karate, and so are my other siblings.
Okay.
So like, I was in Tai Chi because my mom and my dad were both really involved in it. So like, if your brother and sister are in it now, and it's like, all right, I guess I'll learn. So, so I learned a little bit, but I gained rank in Shotokan karate, not Tai Chi. They
Okay.
gained rank in Tai Chi. And my youngest sister also gained rank in karate. Don't get me wrong. She was really good. We were both green belts before I left because I went to college. I was in karate really heavily in high school. That's when I was like really serious. I was in karate most of my life, but when I was in high school, that's kind of when I actually took it serious. Because I was just in it when I was like 3 to 7 because like I don't have any I don't have any option. I can't just be like, I don't pay bills. I'm a 7-year-old.
Right.
I can't just be like, bye mom, I don't want to be in class, So
yeah.
it was like a playtime kind of thing, but yeah.
That's great. So you went off to college in, you said Cincinnati? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I went to Northern Kentucky University. But yeah, so it was in Highland Heights, but the bridge to get to like Newport and then to get to Cincinnati is like right there.
Oh, okay.
So like any bus or anything you take is going to take you to Cincinnati, which is majority of where people worked and where I spent a lot of my time. So yeah, I just say Cincinnati because that's where I was.
Okay. I gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. We have some spots like that out here in Seattle too, where you're like, it's Seattle.
Yeah, it's like Louisville because most of my jobs here have been in Clarksville, Indiana, because our bridge is 2nd Street Bridge is literally up the street from me and it goes right into Indiana. Sometimes it's faster to go straight into Indiana and go to Clarksville than it would be to like stay in Louisville and go the opposite way. You know what I mean?
Weird, yeah.
It'll be 10 minutes to go to Clarksville, but like 20 minutes to go like further out in Louisville because we're like right where the bridge is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's like, welcome to Louisville, or welcome to Kentucky, welcome to Indiana. And then since you're in Highland Heights, it's welcome to Kentucky, welcome to Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's interesting.
So yeah.
And it's funny how I went from like a Louisville place that's like that, right? To a Cincinnati place. Yeah. So it's like,
It's familiar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Are your siblings still in the Louisville area as well, or did they go off somewhere else?
Yes. Most of my siblings, or all of my siblings, are still in Louisville. Me and my brother actually live with my brother and my best friend in a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom townhouse apartment.
Nice.
It's like living single up in here, but we're all trying to move. When that works out, then it'll be me and my brother that have moved out of the city, and everybody else will be in Louisville.
Okay.
So it's like a generational, like, I guess, like no one's moved out except for college. Like everybody's left.
Sure.
Most people have left. Not everybody, but most people did leave to go to school and then they came back to Louisville. But nobody has like left to live, especially 6 hours away. Most of us have stayed pretty close. So
that'll be a big shift then.
It'll be very, we're pushing for it.
Yeah. What's the motivation to move for you all, or for you?
For me, and I think all of us can agree just because we've had several roommate meetings about it, is opportunity. I work mainly in the entertainment and media industry. Like I'm a media content creator and things of that nature. So I just have seen more work be offered in the city that I'm trying to live in, and then I also just enjoy the city. So I just feel like I like the weather. 2, I like the city. I've been to Atlanta a lot and really I like to navigate the city. I like it. And then, there's also a lot of opportunity. There's conferences, there's information, there are influential people, there are jobs, for creatives and continuing jobs for creatives. Like there are contracting jobs, there's a plethora of new things that pop up rather than in Louisville that it just moves a little bit slower to what I've experienced. And as far as like continuous like jobs that pay, more than $15 an hour, want all of your time literally for the, and free to work overtime for $15 an hour and not even be able to do. So it's just not going to work out for me here because that is the minimum. I mean, that's really there's a wall that I've been hitting when it comes to employment here. Even when I graduated from NKU and moved back here, my like first industry job that I had was in Indiana. It wasn't in
Okay.
So that kind of told me like, yeah. And like anything that I could have found was like manufacturer photography because there's a lot of like manufacturing positions here. Like it's good for trade work and things like that. But the only photographers you'll get are people who like photograph the trade products.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of what I was doing. And that's the only thing I was kind of seeing that was like lucrative, but that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And that's the only option. Like that shouldn't be the only option. So
right.
I've been doing like freelance mainly ever since I left that job. And it's also shown me that, girl, you need to leave. So
yeah. Was your degree in photography, or what was your degree in?
My degree was in journalism.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in journalism. I minored in photography.
Nice.
So I plan on going back. It's just the whole Corona thing has just shifted, you know, just me wanting to go back. But it's been on my mind. Like I've been surfacing, getting like some different certificates and stuff, just because I've been getting more into like music media and like music journalism, which is where I wanted to be when I was in college, was music journalism. So now that I'm actually doing it is pretty wild, especially freelance. But yeah, I'm trying to get more of a grasp and more knowledge and like more of my, you know, get my feet wet in that industry specifically, which is why I kind of want to go to Atlanta. There's a lot of people from Louisville are traveling to Atlanta, especially a lot of musicians, artists, and creatives. That's where the money is. It's people that want to get, you know, that want to get that content, that want to learn how to engage people online to be able to monetize themselves and do those types of things. So that's what I'm trying to learn and be able to offer. Yeah.
Nice.
So
yeah. Well, that's exciting. Yeah. I don't know much about Atlanta, but it sounds like there's a lot more opportunity in that area for what you're looking for. Music journalism, music publishing, and things like that. Is that the kind of freelance work that you've been getting, or?
That's what I've been doing, whether it be freelance or not. I've just been working a lot with local artists, using my platform to talk about local artists. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you don't really have to be hired to do music journalism, especially if you really want to do it. You just kind of just start doing it on top of like people asking you to do certain things. Like I've been doing a lot of BTS work. So like behind the scenes footage on music video sets, or organizing or curating people's albums that they want to put out. Like which song should go here and there, things like that. Or like album cover art. Social media posts, like, you know what I mean? Those types of things that people, basically things that I guess managers or labels provide. I would be one of those people that they would be like, here, provide, and then send it back to us, and then we give it to the artist. So then that would be me. So that's where I'm trying to get to, where it's, you know, paying more or like paying at all, but I just kind of started like maybe less than 7 months ago. Since I started going freelance. I was like, this is kind of what I want to do. So I just kind of fell into what I wanted to do. And sometimes you get paid, sometimes you just do it just to kind of pass your name along. But like photography is something that I've been doing for 10 years. So like that is what I definitely know and have rates and have a whole, you know, business and things set out for. But like music journalism is kind of like my passion and kind of where I want to end up. Because photography is one aspect of like so many visual aspects of, you know, what you can offer or what you can do. So that's kind of what I've been doing or trying to do. I don't know about them. That's why I want to move to Atlanta. I don't know about my roommates.
Oh, sure.
My brother is in IT, and then my best friend is in like the jewelry and piercing industry. Everybody kind of has their own path that they want to go on. We just support each other. So why not go together?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a blessing,
Yeah.
literally, because like cold feet, and then somebody being like right there, being like, "We got this, come on,
Yeah.
like, let's go,
It's such a
we gotta
different
get out of
experience.
here."
Yeah. Yeah. Such a different experience than going at it on your own, and in so many ways, like monetarily, I'm sure, like if you're able to like actually go get a place much more easily than if you're on your own, and having that support, that's invaluable. That's awesome. That's really cool.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
exciting.
most important thing. We all have a goal in mind, and it's just like, it's like how, like how you put your foot down or you put your hands down so you can kind of like lift the next
Oh
person.
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of
Uh-huh.
how it
Yep.
feels. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's just like, could I do this by myself? Probably not. Probably so, but I don't have to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get this done.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That's awesome. What is it about music journalism? Do you have a background in music or anything like that? Or is it just you have a passion for music and you want to be able to support and write about it and things?
Music definitely is a huge influence, or has been a huge influence in my life. I played the flute in middle school
Hey, me
or
too.
elementary school through middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like practice. I picked the flute up like, on and off. I still have it in my room and such, and like, practice the scales and things.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm not anywhere as close as where I used to be. I just know how to use it, and I know what
Yeah.
I'm doing at the core principles of how to use a flute.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I've always just been a listener of music. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to write when I was younger because, like, I grew up, I was very dreamer. I romanticized everything, everything. I'm listening to artists and, like, feeling how artists feel and being able to, like, feel those artists and identify with them, even though, like, I can't even, like, imagine their experience yet. Like I said that India Ari and Jill Scott were like huge influences for me when I was younger.
Oh
Like
yeah. Mm-hmm.
specifically remember like me mentally like being like, yeah, these are going to be people that I listen to for the rest of my life. Specifically Jill Scott. Love, like, yes. Everything about Jill Scott was like, fuck yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't ask about language. I
Oh,
should have
you're
probably
good. You're
asked about
good.
that.
No worries.
Okay. But no, everything about her first album was like amazing. And I really liked albums, and I listened to a lot of music. My dad had a lot of music. He had like a lot of, bootleg CDs. We used to go to the bootleg man, like used to
Yeah.
sell CDs on the corner and in the gas stations when you go get gas and you go with your dad and he buys you like a piece of candy and like we get like a 4 for $20 for CDs and you get like these mixtapes and stuff like that so you
Oh,
can listen
nice.
to them.
Yeah.
Or like when you're just listening to the radio, I always had a radio in my room and I just was
Mm-hmm.
always gravitated towards just listening to music, learning the lyrics. I used to write down the lyrics. I was that person that like would write them down so I could like learn them, and I
Mm-hmm.
still do that. So I literally now that I work for artists, I literally write their lyrics so they could have, a transcript,
Oh
because
yeah. Yeah.
someone has to write them, especially in the format, somebody has to type it if it's not typed out.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you just can't get it from an artist, you just kind of have to go through and type it and put it in, DistroKid or
Right.
Spotify for artists and things like that so people can have access to it. So
Mm-hmm.
you're already just listening and typing. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, this is crazy. Like I'm having like crazy, like this is stuff that I used to do, just used to do it. And now I'm like, it's a title? Like,
Right.
salary? What? Like, what? This is
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, like I just feel like listening to certain songs or listening to certain albums, because albums for me are a lot more important than just like simple song, just one song. Because I collect CDs.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I collect CDs, it's like a really big commitment. Like you have to really, you'll know if you really like an artist when you like will buy a piece of work of theirs, and you have to commit to every song. You know what I mean? When you buy, unless you buy like a single CD, but nobody wants to buy a single CD,
right.
like the one with one song on
Just
it.
the
Nobody
little,
wants that. Yeah, because it costs $3, and you're like,
right.
I'm good. Just
The
wait
whole
for the
thing.
whole CD. Yeah, but to commit that much, you kind of have to really like listen to the whole album. And I have always liked doing that. I've always liked long form critique of music. When I was younger, listening, or just now listening to like the beginning to end of albums, and just like knowing how and liking how and enjoying how songs like kind of just are seamless. And then now working with an artist and being like, how do we make this album seamless? You know what I mean? So like, it's all flashbacks from when I was younger, and really collecting this information as a fan, and then putting all of that fan knowledge or fan energy, I guess, that you still have, obviously, but like, now I guess an ear for it, and just figuring out like how to make an album, or like what sounds cohesive in a way, to make like a larger project. And I love it. And then like being able to appreciate and talk about how one did it, and then also have a hand in, you know, how they're going to do it. It's good over here. Like, you know,
being able
I
to
love
create
it. Like,
and
yeah,
collaborate.
that's definitely, and not really creating music, but just,
right.
like having a hand in how it's like perceived, how you present it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I really enjoy doing.
And
have always just kind of weirdly, like I'm saying, like this is new. Like I just started music journal, or like fusing, you know, media. Cause at first I was just like, you know, I was a journalism student. So I was doing like news, current events, things like that, campus events, things that happen in the city. And then in high school, I was doing the same kind of thing. I had covered concerts, but like more in like my free time. But now it's just been like music journalism. So it's like all about the artist, all about new music. And it's been really great.
That's exciting. Yeah, it sounds like you're kind of at the beginnings of figuring out your journey and adventure, coming, like exploring the possibilities that are around music, and kind of putting all of your skills into that. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. And you're seeing that in Atlanta, in that area, there's more opportunities for getting into that line of work and being paid for it, right?
Atlanta has a huge music scene, and it's getting bigger constantly. And I really, outside of, I learned that Atlanta had a growing music scene, but I really liked the sense of community that I experienced in Atlanta. Because I went there just to travel there for a music festival called Afropunk, maybe like back in 2017, and had never been to Atlanta, and just met so many different people. Every time I go to Atlanta, it's like, I don't know, it's always been like, you need to come back here. Like, you need to spend some time here. Like, even if you don't, you know, this is not where you are for the rest of your life. This is some time, you need to spend some time here. And then just knowing that, like, I have family that live in Georgia. Like, I have, you know, my mom's side of my family is from Georgia, or different parts of Georgia. Just knowing that there are, like, you know, there's ancestry here as well, just like kind of like makes me gravitate and want to just kind of, let's see, like, why do I keep having such like an opportunative time in Atlanta? I just feel like things happen where it's just kind of like, you don't just come to the city and then just leave.
Right.
Like the last time I went to Atlanta was last October, and I just so happened to got to shoot for Phony People, the group. And I was like, oh, I mean, I just didn't expect to just show up in the city and be like, oh yeah, now I'm shooting for you guys, like tomorrow. And then like, I guess a time before that was just like, last time we ended up in the same club as 2 Chainz and was like in his section. And I'm like, how did we end up here? Like, and that was the last time. Like, I just feel like every single, and that was maybe like 2019. So it's like every time we take a deliberate trip to Atlanta and be intentional in where we go and what we do, there's always some benefit.
Just feels right, huh?
It definitely does. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of people, so there's a lot of ways to make money, cuz photography is definitely, when you have a camera, photography alone, whether it be music or portraits,
Mm-hmm.
it can be a very like transactional, quick
Mm-hmm.
business,
Yeah.
especially when you have the cameras that have Wi-Fi and you can just instantly drop like a
Oh,
shoot that you have with someone
that's a
right
thing, huh?
in their drive. Yes,
Wow.
I went to New York and someone like they took pictures of us and was like, they were like, I'll drop it like, directly into your,
Oh,
they'll probably send it to their phone first, and then just Dropbox it into or airdrop it, however they want to do the exchange,
yeah.
but they just do an air transfer to where like I can get them while we're standing here and look at them on my phone, and then
Wow.
they'll like ask for a tip, ask for, some type of money exchange or whatever, and then boom.
Yeah. So folks going around wanting photos, in more,
Yeah, they want their outfit really quick. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that was, I mean, I guess obviously that's a thing. Our phones are basically that almost. I'm sure it's not quite the same, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Wow.
It's definitely a hustle, especially if you like have influence. Like say you know the DJ and you go to a party and you know the
Mm,
people there.
yeah.
I've been learning that too. That's also like a thing you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So many different
Right?
avenues for you too. Yeah, and you've been doing
Yes.
photography so long. That's a great. I imagine that would be a great starter in a new city, and then you can branch off from there, doing whatever or however you want to do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
That's what I'm saying. The opportunity is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
is wider to be able to have the
hmm,
choice.
definitely. We already talked about your influences being basically music and India Ari and Jill Scott. Are there any other influences that you wanted to talk about or bring up?
Honestly, music is a huge influencer just because every
Mm-hmm.
time I think about like, okay, so how do I get inspired? Music. Okay, so how do I get motivated? A song. Like it's just a
True.
different artist, it's a different feeling, it's a different vibe. Like I was listening to music too right before we got on here. Just
Yeah.
like I need to play like something that keeps, that gets my mind in the place where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like a lot of the times for me to get inspired or get creative, and these could be like with artists and the way that they have presented themselves and visualize or visualize their albums or visualize their bodies of work. I would say like a big influencer for me is Frank Ocean, just because just like the visuals that we've gotten from his work and just like the visuals that you hear, and it's crazy you say visuals that you hear. What? No, like seriously, when
Mm-hmm.
you his the way that he like sonically manipulates his albums, it definitely like makes you think of nostalgic things, or he just very much manipulates what you see when you hear
Mm-hmm.
certain things, and I really really enjoy that. And that's what inspires me, because when I see it, I'm thinking of something visual, and then I want to create that, and then I want to do a shoot or like a conceptual shoot where we can kind of talk about that, or talk, or represent it or visually represent it, so to where it is a topic of conversation. So that's kind of just where it always starts, from like a song, or just like how somebody mixed a beat, and like how it made me feel, what it made me think about, what it pulled from my memory that just made me want to like make something else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely going to be music. It helps me create things that are, I guess, more tangible.
Thanks for sharing that. That's great. That makes so
Of
much sense.
course.
Yeah,
Of
and as a
course.
creative yourself, yeah, being inspired by something else that's creative makes complete sense. Yeah, what was the shoot? Your most recent shoot? What was that?
I had a showcase that was last
Oh,
week.
that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was an art exhibit. It'll be at a local cafe here called Riot Cafe.
Oh, nice.
It'll be up all month. So that was like the showcase for it. So you had to print everything out and
yeah.
set everything up. And then I had a performer. I had Otherside Critic perform. So like getting him situated, and we had a DJ and
that sounds fun.
And everything. So yeah, it was really nice. But we had to like set up for it, and it was just things were closed the weekend before. So then getting things back on it, and then like with work schedules, and yeah, that was that week. I have been slow on photo shoots. I have been doing more like freelance blog writing, bio writing, writing descriptions for like artists, copywriting for making reels, things like that. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of management. I've been shooting like concerts and doing video for making social media content.
Oh, that's great.
Like video clips and stuff, BTS stuff.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm trying to multimedia myself, you know? So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, a lot of hats, that's for sure.
It's heavy.
So many. Yeah, right? It's all good things, though, even though sometimes, wearing all the hats can be a little overwhelming, I imagine. But the life of freelancers, I guess, right?
One day I'll have a team of other hat wearers, and we can all wear our hats in the room. And
yes,
and that's what I want. Like, really, I don't want to do freelance like and just be a single running machine. I really like having a group of people that have a specialty in a thing where I could say, you know, my spiel about what I think about it, and then they tell me their spiel of what they kind of already understand, and then I go like, you handle that because you got it. You know what I mean? And that's why you're here, is because you know what to do, and then take my advice as to what it is, and or like my suggestion, and you got it, and then you got it, and you got it, and then I got, you know what I mean? I don't want to have all the hats.
And a team.
Yes, I'm all for collaborations, and I feel like the art of collaboration is getting really like blurred lined, especially like among smaller creators, because it's like people like, especially like when the know your worth thing kind of comes up. So it's like, do I want to, you know what I mean? Do I want to work for free? Like to what extent, you know what I mean? Like to what capacity can I collaborate? Or like how to monetize and everyone make money, and I don't know. It
gets complicated.
It can get confused. It can get complicated, especially dealing with different people. My goal is to like work for a management or agency. I'm thinking an agency or a media group where like it's just like they have the people already there, and then we contract different, you know, other businesses that kind of need us to be or to do something as far as like what I'm doing. Instead of just doing freelance, I would work with other people who do larger projects and can do larger projects, because you have an operations manager and you have like other people that are dealing with other things and things like that. So that's my goal.
Yeah.
So
that sounds
and you're
great.
not doing your own payroll and everything else. So
I
have been freelance for almost a year, like unintentionally. I've been trying to get a job, but my freelance work has been, one, more fulfilling, and two, sometimes more demanding, and full-time jobs and part-time jobs don't care or understand. So it's just kind of like, and especially if you keep your freelance job as your main priority, it's just like, well, this is my business. You know what I mean? They don't understand that. No. It's more of like choice for them if you're not working for someone. And it's like, but I'm working for me.
Right.
And they're like, no, that doesn't count. I'm like, well, yes, it does.
Right.
Like, it's actually more important, because like now it's just my name that people, you know what I mean? That people go spread around if my business isn't, you know, the way that it, you know, if you're not reaching deadlines and doing whatever tasks that they need you to do or whatever, or being there and being available.
Yeah. Companies don't get that.
They don't.
You gotta get really lucky. Some folks do. I think probably more the small businesses and stuff that's what they had to go through at one point too. But,
because right now I work with a hotel that has been like so understanding.
Oh,
luckily.
Good. Yeah.
Oh my God. And hotels usually are not. So I'm like, I have so much loyalty for you guys. So I will never do you guys wrong, because they let me take off when I need to, do a shoot, or when I need to pick up work, or, do something.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Good.
It's really important. I think more jobs should, especially
Agreed.
if you have that loyalty, but
yeah, it makes such a huge difference how management runs things, whether or not somebody's going to stick around or be loyal or say good things about your company after they have to, move on or whatever.
I literally, moment of transparency, had to deal with that because last Friday, I got fired.
Oh, no.
I was working for a full-time job for a month, literally a month, from like January 10th to February 10th. I was like, I'm going to go full time, New Year's resolution. I had been freelance since, last year for 6 months. And I was like, okay, we got to get this money. I just need a quick, flow of money stream and to save up to move. And I was like, I'm going to do this full-time job. Seems, pretty painless or whatever. And I needed to take off because I needed to go do funeral, because I had a friend pass recently around the same time as the showcase, and then the storm. It was crazy. That's what I'm saying. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. Everything was everywhere. That's why my responses were like 4 days late. And I was just trying to make sure I had gotten back to literally everybody, because things were changing so quickly.
Yeah, it sounds like.
And so I was like, hey, I need to get off. I have to go pick up prints and do a lot of other things. Like literally just 2 hours early. I need to leave 2 hours early so I can go to the print store before they close, because in the morning I have to go to the funeral at 10 a.m. I was literally explaining to them I would not have to take off had it not. And they were just like, yeah, if you leave, we're going to fire you. And I was like, so I either have to decide whether or not I'm going to go to this funeral and have things prepared for it. Because it was photos for both my showcase and for the funeral and things like that. Because I had taken photos of this person and was just helping them out with funeral stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just crazy. And I was like, so you guys are really making me decide over whether or not I need to go help out a family or, a dead friend's family.
Right.
2 hours, and we're not even doing anything right now. You just want me to stay.
Wow.
I was like, really? Okay. And they were just like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
That's
and then
terrible.
They fired me, and I was like, this is kind of red flag. There was a lot of red flags with this company, and that was just kind of the last little piece. I was like, dang, you guys really y'all don't care.
Man. Yeah.
So I was like, it's just 2 hours.
Right. Yeah, you'd think in any other place that would be understandable.
I'm used to jobs just kind of being understandable or chill, especially in aspects of death, because it was very I didn't know there was a funeral yesterday, so my because funerals are planned within 48 hours, so it's just my plans have kind of changed, so I kind of need, this is the small ounce of space that I need to be able to keep my week going. If you could just I could just leave an hour and a half early, and they were like, yeah, no, if you leave, then we're gonna let you go.
That's too bad. That's both too bad and also probably definitely for the best, because they sound like not a good fit.
I was just kind of at that point I was like, even if you guys don't fire me, I'll be looking for another job. So you know what I mean? I don't want to work here.
Yeah.
Which is also good that I have that relationship with my hotel that I work at, because I can go back there.
That's good.
But I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's terrible. I'm sorry that you had to go through that too. That sounds pretty stressful.
It was just a reminder that I need to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and it's just I need to be doing what, and it had nothing to do. It was one of those jobs where it was just it was customer service. It had nothing to do with what I really wanted to, right? And so it just reminded, I was in it for a month, and they were just yep, no. And I was yeah, no.
Yeah.
And so, and after being in and out of a job, because the job I had before that lasted for about a month, and I've been freelance since then, like completely. Like I tried to get a job, it didn't work out, and then tried to get this full-time job, and I'm just like, it's not working out.
And I should have asked you this a whole hour ago, but to pronounce your first name, is it Mesa? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
And is that what you go by, Mesa?
It's Mesa. A lot of people, I've been telling people to call me Iyabo.
Iyabo, okay.
But it's either one.
Okay.
Honestly, it's Iyabo Mesa. So like you can say Mesa because it's Mesa Pisa. I haven't seen that one, but yeah, it's Iyabo and it's Mesa. You can go either one, or you can go both.
Nice. Okay. Good. Yeah, I meant to ask you that right when we first started, and I just completely spaced it. Because now that you mention it, I do remember that you have Iyabo in quotations. So I wasn't sure if you went by that instead. So good to know.
Oh, no. Mesa Pisa is going to be the one in quotations.
Oh, okay. I had that backwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
because that's like the nickname that I got in 8th grade. Just so people could pronounce it correctly.
Oh, yeah.
But then people like still pronounce it wrong, and they say like Mesa Pisa, and it's like, does that really sound like how you think it should? and so
the only thing I have in my head that's similar is Mesa Verde from it's a place in the Southwest that I've been to.
Yes.
So that's what was in my head, but it's Mesa.
So then you put Pisa next to it, and you're like, so I wouldn't say Mesa Pisa, I would say Mesa Pisa.
Yeah.
Right?
That makes sense. Right. Yeah.
But then also people think like Iyabo is with an L, and they'll put a capital L thinking that I spelled my name with a lowercase L.
Wow.
And I'm like, but then there's other I's in my names, like when there's Serikali. So it's just like, but you didn't think that those were, and there's an L. So like, I'm like,
come on.
What?
Yeah.
Everything else, the M is capitalized, the S is capitalized, but the I, that's an L.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So people are gonna just mess it up in general.
Yes.
Whether I like it or not. So, because that's why I didn't go by Iyabo for a long time, is because a lot of people said it and it didn't sound right. So I was just like, just call me Mesa. And then people weren't pronouncing Mesa right, and I was like, well, like Mesa Pisa, and people would be like, all right, I got it. Once they hear it, they just kind of get it, and then I'm just like, all right, cool. And now I'm trying to like go back to like using Iyabo slowly as people like kind of like get a feel for it, but the way people can pronounce your name just makes you not want to hear it sometimes.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah. With my last name, people pronounce it all kinds of ways, and I usually just say, yep, that works, because there's no point. You could say it's this, and then they'll say it differently anyway. So my husband's first name's the same. His name's Darius. Everybody says Darius, even if you say Darius every time. So it's so weird. And those ones are, his name at least seems much more simple than Iyabo. It's just more straightforward maybe.
And I feel like if somebody tells you, then like I can hear it like phonetically.
Yeah. People just aren't like, listening. They don't pay attention.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it is. No, that one, like
that's
people
the
just aren't listening. No, yes, they aren't.
Yeah.
Because I actually like to listen and pronounce different like names and like words and things like that. Like I enjoy it. So if somebody like, because I work at a hotel, so I get a lot of people's IDs and passports and things like that. And then one of our like rules is to say their name back to them, like, oh, Mr., whoever. So like if you don't say their name, or like you don't like ask them what their name is and like pronounce it and say it back, it's a sign of respect. Yeah. Like it's like that is their identity. So it is like, you know what I mean? Like outside of pronouns, like you could just call them by their name, and whatever their name is their identity, So it's that number one thing that like distinguishes a person from a person, you know what I mean? And we should just we should make sure we, get to a common ground.
Yeah.
I won't even say pronounce it right, but just get to a common ground.
Good point. Yeah.
To where, there's a nickname, there's a sound involved, there's something going on to where like both parties are okay with it. Cause I really enjoy names, and I like people who also respect names as well. Because people don't care.
Yeah.
I've had a girl that I've worked with that has consistently said my name wrong.
Oh.
And I say her name right. And she justifies it with other people say her name wrong. And I'm like, okay, but I say your name,
I'm not other people. Come on.
Right. But I mean, even so, like, I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, right.
That just didn't make sense. Like, oh, well, people call me, the wrong name all the time. And I'm just kind of like, I didn't ask that. My name's Mesa.
Right.
Please stop calling me anything else.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, man. Yeah, no kidding.
I've known her for like a year.
It's been a year.
I'm telling you, I've known her for like a year or two now.
No.
Like, yes, that's why I'm like,
Ugh.
I know I don't see you that often, but I'm laughing, but I really do kind of like don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And then me having to correct you, I feel bad because I'm like every time. Oh, it's Mesa. No, it's Mesa. And then and now I feel like how do you nicely keep correcting somebody? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be rude, but I kind of like my name
how it's supposed to be. Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's frustrating. It is a sign of respect too, and I don't think that a lot of people see it that way. And I think for me, I've chosen to just, brush it off because my last name's Preisinger, and it's, when you look at it, it looks like a bunch of vowels, in a way, and that's what people see. So, I get it's not super straightforward, and you can pronounce it multiple ways. So I just kind of like, yeah, that's fine, and then I share how I pronounce it and don't really expect much after, because it doesn't mean as much, but I can see how it would be it is meaningful in a lot of ways. And if people just brush it off when you're trying to express to them that this is something that means something to me, and I would appreciate if you said it the right way or made an attempt at least. And a lot of folks from countries like, I think the Philippines, Thailand, or China, or Japan. I know that a lot of folks that have picked an English name to just say, here's my name, instead of going through the whole thing of trying to get folks to pronounce their name right. And I feel bad because I would like to just learn their name so that they can be called what, their birth name.
Yeah. But I'll still ask. I'm really good at asking people like what their real name is, or like what's their actual name. I won't even say their real name because they use a different name doesn't mean it's a fake name. It just can still be their name. But like, what's your like real like given name, or like like your actual given name? Because I had she was from South Sudan, and she told me her name was Michelle. And I was like, I didn't see a Michelle on the schedule. So I'm like thinking like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, your name is Michelle? And she's like, yeah, it's Michelle. And I was like, isn't it like, doesn't it start with the I? Because I was like, wasn't sure how to pronounce it, but I saw it on the schedule. And I was just like, doesn't it start with the I? And she was like, oh. Or does it start with an A? And she was like, oh, yeah, that's my name. But, like, no one knows how to pronounce it. And I was like, well, how do you pronounce it? Like, I was like, so what's your name? Like, I want to know how to pronounce it. I want to know how to say it. Like, I'm not going to call you Michelle. That's not your name. You just picked this name for this job.
Right, yeah.
And then you leave and I don't even know who you really are. And she was like, no, it's Aluel. And I was like, oh, okay. It's like I was like, that's not. And usually it really isn't that bad. People just don't care.
Yeah,
they just don't. Yeah. They don't like hear. They're not listening. Right. So I was like, okay. So I said it back to her. She was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that's what I call you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand like why it has to be that difficult. But then a lot of times working in music as well, I work with a lot of like rappers and like people who go as monikers or like, nicknames and things like that. You'll never know their real name. And like you have this one guy, his name's Hundo, and you're like, what's your real name? You know? And you're just like, he's like, oh, it's really Steven. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, so I'm just like, I'm always like, oh, what's your real name? Some people really will refuse to give you their real name though. Like,
depending.
Really, seriously. Depending on who it is or whatever, they won't give it to you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm trying to get like that.
Mm-hmm. Is there any of your work or anybody else that you'd like to highlight before we finish up today?
Yeah, well, I do work a lot with a lot of local artists in Louisville. There's Otherside, which is a group, and then there's also Otherside Critic specifically. Critic like a movie critic or a critical person. I'm really excited about his music and then just like what he creates and what he's already created, just because there is a lot of influence, I guess, soul and feeling in his music. And he uses like hip hop elements to be able to display it. So I really, really enjoy his sound. But then outside of that, you can find a lot of my stuff on like at Mesa Pisa. It's MESAPISA. And that's pretty much on all social media. You can find me on Instagram. And then I am revamping my website right now, but it's mesapisa.com.
Well, I hope that everything aligns and works well for you all to be able to move to Atlanta and reach your goals and follow those passions you have. The next time
we talk, I'm going to be like, I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Seriously.
Yes, it'll happen. Awesome. Well, Iyabo, I have enjoyed talking with you today, and I'm glad that we connected through Mo and through this podcast. And I'm happy and thankful for you for sharing your stories and your passions and your ideas. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wishing you all the best in your adventures coming up. It sounds like you have a lot of great things on the horizon, so I'm excited for you.
I'm glad it sounds that way.
Yeah. I know it may not feel that way, but it does sound that way. And you're young, so it'll all come together.
I feel like the Joker. I feel like the beginning of like they said, what is it? The beginning of your villain era or whatever. Or your villain origin story.
Your origin story. Yes, I hear you.
I'm like, that's where I'm at. In freelance right now.
Yep. That's great. I like it. Nice. I look forward to speaking with you again when you're in Atlanta. So
definitely.
And the continuation of the origin story.
Definitely. I'm excited as well, and I hope to listen to all the other ones that you have.
Yeah, thanks. Coming. Yeah, thanks for
and the ones that we've done already.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for Take Notice Amplifying Black Stories. Please subscribe and follow us on social media. We are at Take Notice Podcast. It would really help us out if you could take a couple of minutes to review our podcast. You can do so through your podcast app or by visiting our website. It's takenoticepodcast.org. Thank you for your support. Take Notice Amplifying Black Stories is produced, hosted, and edited by Allison Preisinger-Heggins with help from many. Music by Version Big 5 featuring Darius Heggins. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for taking notice.